Many of you have reached out to me to ask me about what is it that I think about these tariffs from the US towards African nations. How are these tariffs going to affect African nations? Similarly, many journalists have been reaching out, asking me about, is it true that African nations have been putting high tariffs on American goods coming into their nations? So I decided I would answer this with a video. Might be faster. Look, guys, this conversation around tariffs, especially around tariffs as it relates to finished goods, manufactured goods, at least something that's been transformed a little bit before it gets exported, this conversation, for the most part, does not concern Africans, insofar as we don't really produce much. We send natural resources abroad, but manufactured goods or semi-manufactured goods, not so much. This conversation is mostly for nations who are, for the most part, manufacturing. That doesn't concern African nations. If anything, for the longest time, some 20 years ago, George Bush has basically put in place AGOA, the African Growth Opportunity Act. What it is was an act that allows thousands of African manufactured goods coming out of Africa to enter the US market free of tariffs. Zero tariffs. Zero. That was a way for the US to foster greater trade between the African continent and the USA. To this day, for the most part, we've got nothing, absolutely nothing, or almost nothing to show for it. Nothing. But how could we? How could we? Because if we don't produce anything, how can you export anything? And the reason why we can't be exporting manufactured goods is because we're not manufacturing goods. We're not manufacturing goods because for the most part, we don't have the economic freedom that's needed, especially for manufacturing companies in order to operate. We don't. So this is where we're at. So we have had this zero tariff going on for the longest time, have taken no advantage of it because we're not taking seriously the issue of economic freedom for our entrepreneurs. And now that the tariffs are, we cry and cry and cry. Why cry? Let me give you some news here. 100% of nothing is still nothing, and 0% of nothing is still nothing. So this conversation does not concern African nations for the most part. There you go. As for the journalist asking me, oh my God, is it true that African nations have been charging high tariffs on US goods? African nations have been charging high tariffs on pretty much almost anything that gets imported in our nations. So it's not just you. Don't take it personally, USA. It's not just you. It's pretty much everything and anything that comes into our countries that's manufactured, they take a big, high, fat tariff on it. Remember when I was telling you about the 45%, the 70%? In some countries, when you import a car, it costs double by the time they added the tariffs on it. It's not just you. You know what it is? It's because for most of our nations, the strategy that we have around the national budget, our strategy is basically tariffs on imported finished goods. That's it. There you go. That's it. So we don't produce anything, which means we're going to need to import a lot of things, but anything we import, slam, bam, 45% tariff, 70% tariff, 100% tariff, 200% tariff. That's how our governments plan on basically putting money into the coffers of the government. So it's not you, USA. Don't take it personally. Do not take it personally. It's not you. I hope this answers those two questions. How are these tariffs going to be affecting African nations? And my answer is until and unless African nations actually start to produce and manufacture, this is not going to affect them. Just like it didn't affect them when the USA was charging 0% tariffs through AGOA, the African Growth Opportunity Act. We've got some work to do. And that work that we have to do concerns nobody else but us. Let us free our entrepreneurs. Until and unless we are serious about that, we cannot be serious about trying to engage with the world. Our natural resources alone will not do it.